Why does Zach Hyman have so much value? I don't get it, but let's talk about it. So, I cover the Vancouver Canucks mostly because I'm from Vancouver. I've been a Canucks fan my whole life. I do a podcast called Canucks After Dark, which you can find linked down below. Um, and for some reason, this is the exact quote: the front runners for Zach Hyman are Calgary, Vancouver, and Edmonton. Also having interest Pittsburgh, Boston, Florida, Detroit. Zach Hyman would stay in Toronto 8 years at $5 million per with a full no movement clause, but apparently has already gotten offers north of that. What are we doing? Honestly, why? There is no reason for the Vancouver Canucks to be in on the Zach Hyman sweepstakes. Look, let's just pull up his stats to start with, right? Let's forget about the Canucks cap issues that they already have. Let's forget about the Louis Eriksson experiment. Let's forget about everything. Let's pull up his numbers in his career, right above my head here. His first full season, 82 games, 28 points. Okay? 40 points in 82 games, 41 points in 71 games. So his 3 full seasons that he's really played, he hasn't been above 41 points. Now, one of those 71 games, call it 45 points in that year if he had played a full 82. But not that injuries aren't a concern with Zach Hyman. Okay. 41, so call it a 45-point player that year. Then in the last 2 seasons, he's been very good. 37 points in 51 games, 33 points in 43 games, about a 60-point pace or so. That's fine. However, we're talking about a hockey player who has had, honestly, 2 really good seasons. 2 seasons where you could say, all right, this guy is a first or second line winger. Maybe, the seasons with 40, 41 points, a low-end second-line winger. But the last 2 years, yeah, he's been pretty good. Pretty good is not good enough for the Vancouver Canucks at this point. Look, we're talking about a team that, coming into this offseason, is finally shedding the Brandon Sutter contract. That's $4 million off the books. They're still a year away from the Jay Beagle, Antoine Roussel, and Louis Eriksson contracts coming off the books, and the Roberto Luongo cap recapture. All in all, this is like $15 million the Canucks are pulling off the books next year. But are we really wanting to spend $5 million of that on Zach Hyman when, don't forget, this $15 million of space that the Canucks have going into next season doesn't include Brock Besser it does include Brock Besser, sorry. It doesn't include Quinn Hughes, and it doesn't include Elias Pettersson. By the way, Brock Besser is going to need an extension next year, and he's got a juicy qualifying offer that needs to be hit around $7 million. Bringing in a player who just turned 29 years old. Look, nothing wrong with being 29, but let's be real. Most players peak in their early to mid 20s nowadays. Do you really want to go out and commit $5 million? Now remember, this is what Toronto's offering. They're saying he's had offers north of that. So let's say $5.5 million for the next 8 seasons, taking him to age 37. Remember, this is a player that has had more than 40 points once in his NHL career. Sure, a couple of shortened seasons, a couple of injuries along the way as well, but let's be real, he has literally only broken the 40-point barrier once. To go out and say, yep, I think that we are going to get the Zach Hyman from the past 2 years. The Zach Hyman who has played on very, very good Toronto Maple Leafs teams, especially in the regular season. These Toronto Maple Leaf teams have been very good. A part of a team that, clearly hasn't been able to get done in the playoffs. But look, if you're the Canucks, you're not worried about the playoff success right now. You're worried about getting to the playoffs. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a guy who isn't a star in the NHL. He's probably a good winger. Would you prefer Zach Hyman or Tyler Toffoli? I'd say they're probably pretty close. And Toffoli didn't get 8 years of a contract. To be coming off of the Louis Eriksson contract, and this is sort of the easiest comparable here, right? Louis Eriksson, I'm going to pull up Louis Eriksson's stats right now. Because he was absolutely outstanding. So In Boston, the 3 years before he played for Vancouver, 37 points in 61 games, 47 points in 81 games, and then 63 points in 82 games, 30 goals scored in the 2015-2016 season for Louis Eriksson. The Canucks go out and they take a bet that he's going to be able to keep that up for at least a couple of years. They give him 6 years at $6 million per as he turns 30 years old. As we all know, that bet did not work because Louis Eriksson literally might never get to 100 points in a Canucks jersey, and they've paid him $36 million. This contract is finally coming off of the books. This anchor of a $6 million contract is coming off the books after this season. Well, do you think Zach Hyman is going to be excellent for the next 4 years to be worth that contract? There's no way that the last half of that contract has any value, and probably the front half of it doesn't have much value either. Because I bet the first 3 seasons of the Zach Hyman contract, maybe he lives up to that $5 million, $5.5 million cap hit. Maybe he's playing like a $6 million player. Great. You've gotten $1 million worth of value out of Zach Hyman. But then as he turns 33, 34, 35, 36, 4 years in his late 30s, is Zach Hyman really going to be the guy who defies the odds and is somehow worth this $5 million cap over those last few years and isn't worth $1 million, $2 million a year at best? I highly doubt it. So for the Vancouver Canucks, who are in cap hell, who have to sign their 3-4 best players, basically, because you have Pettersson and Hughes this year, you have Besser coming up, you have Horvat coming up, you'll have JT Miller eventually, you'll have all of these big contracts that are going to come up in the next couple of years, if not literally this offseason. Are you going to hitch your wagon to Zach Hyman when you still don't have Pettersson or Hughes locked up? You still don't know where you're going to be this year. Because I personally, like, are the Canucks going to even make the playoffs this year? I'm kind of 50-50 on it. It's going to be tough. I think they're going to be on the bubble at best because I do think they underperformed last year. But is Zach Hyman the piece that gets you over the edge? I don't think so. So personally, don't do it, Jim. Just don't bring in Zach Hyman. I don't get how, like, I don't get it. I don't get how the Canucks can even say that they're in on this, right? We've heard there's the handful of the Brock Besser rumors are circling the wagons again. This happens every year, and sure, maybe the Canucks are fielding offers for Brock Besser, but that doesn't mean they're actively shopping him. It means teams are calling and saying, "Hey, what would it take to pull Brock Besser from you?" And it's going to be a damn high price. But I'd rather have Brock Besser than Zach Hyman. I would have rather had Tyler Toffoli than Zach Hyman. There's a lot of players that I think I would rather have for Zach Hyman. Look, if the Canucks brought in Zach Hyman at $5 million at 2, maybe 3 years, 3 would be pushing it. But 2 years, I would say, good solid bet. Because maybe he really enjoys it here, and you're able to lock him up long-term after that. But if you're Zach Hyman and you're getting offered north of $5 million for 8 years, if you're Zach Hyman, you are all over that. And I don't blame him one bit if he's chasing the bag. Because if you have an opportunity as a Zach Hyman level player who, like I said, has had 40, 41 points just a couple of times, literally has peaked at 21 goals, although in 51 games, that's very good, but it's one good year. And he's had 3 really good seasons, but at the end of the day, he's turning 30 next year. It just doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, that's all I've got for this one, I think. Make sure if you want more Canucks talk, make sure you're subscribed, hit the like button, do all that good stuff, and go watch Canucks After Dark. It's linked in the description. It's also available wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Overcast. There's so many of them, and wherever you are, if you leave a 5-star review, we'll see it and we will read it out on the show. It goes live every Wednesday at 10 p.m. currently for the month of July, and then we'll go back to Mondays afterwards. Anyways, that's all I've got for this one. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope the Canucks don't sign Zach Hyman for that much money. See you guys later.